Hi, this is the main message, and you're most welcome to it. I hope you're doing okay, and I also hope you've taken in the readings as a bit of a background to what I'm sharing. There'll also be the usual supplement to follow up on a couple of things, but I do hope you're doing okay. We are full of hope now about vaccines and possible futures emerging in the early part of next year. So let's keep hoping and keep serving one another, looking after one another the best way we can. If you ever check yourself in a mirror before leaving the house, then you know that you like to be well thought of. It matters to us how other people see us, how they understand us, how they perceive who we are. And that's because we have a fundamental human need for acceptance. Our security depends on being accepted in a whole heap of ways. And so that's a very, very deep human gut instinct, if you like, a compulsion, a need, and therefore a source of anxiety and concern. When we wake up to the fact that this is God's universe, not an accident, but here on purpose, it may eventually cross our minds that if we want to be acceptable to other people, we may also need to be acceptable to God. This may lead us to consider what it is to be acceptable to God, and we may begin to notice that if God is love, we are maybe not living up to our standard for ourselves, and therefore perhaps we begin to realize that there is a bit of a gap, and nobody is behaving as they should. I'm not, you're not, no one is. No one's doing what we could. No one loves as we have the capacity and potential to love. No one loves as God intends. And so this makes us aware of a gap, a problem between us and God. We imagine that God will find us acceptable if we are doing the right stuff, or if we are loving, if we are decent, good, or whatever. But we begin to see ourselves and recognize what should be there isn't fully operational. And there is this gap between us and our Creator. So what we need is a mediator. A mediator is somebody who steps into the middle, who comes between two separated parties. A mediator is somebody who is in the midst and works for reconciliation between the two. So quite literally, a mediator is that person in the middle. And as you'll have seen in our readings, the New Testament several times speaks of Jesus directly as a mediator, using the term, but actually constantly talks about that function, that role, that work of mediation that Jesus undertook. There are two kinds of mediator, roughly speaking. Mediator type 1 is somebody who is on neither side. In other words, it doesn't belong to either side and can be trusted because of not having a biased opinion. So, the referee in a sports game of some sort, or an umpire, perhaps, or a judge, somebody who is there to make decisions, to enforce the rules, and the outcome will be fair play and justice. And so that kind of not belonging to either side function is really effective, because justice is always better than injustice, and fair play is always better than foul play. But that kind of mediation can only go a certain distance and then it stops. It can ensure justice and fair play, but it cannot ensure or even substantially offer reconciliation, that the two different sides become as one. So there's another kind of mediator, another kind of mediation, and you'll have been the referee umpire type from time to time in situations in life possibly, but you'll also likely have been the other kind of mediator, the one who belongs to both sides. Such is often the work of say, a parent with two arguing children, or anybody else in a loving family where there's a row or some kind of separation and hurt and disagreement going on. And the mediator who belongs to both sides has a particular power, a particular potential in their work. And that is that because they belong to both sides, they have a particular kind of acceptability and trust that exceeds that of the referee, umpire, or judge, that is deeply rooted emotionally, and in which each party can know that the mediator belongs to their side, that the mediator's on my side. Mediator may be on your side too. But whereas the judge or the umpire or the referee is essentially on neither side, a family mediator or somebody in that kind of role is on both sides, on everybody's side. And that is the most powerful form because it is totally a loving disposition, and it offers the opportunity not just of justice and fair play, but actually of reconciliation of the two sides forming one side again. Now there's a risky business in that kind of mediation, and I'll just come back to that in a moment. But first of all, I want to say all we need is not only a mediator, but a mediator of that second type. A mediator who belongs to God and belongs to us. A mediator who is both divine and human. And a mediator, therefore, who is a special work of the Holy Spirit and also born by human birth labour. In other words, the baby conceived in Mary, the one who is God become a human being, the one who belongs to God and to people, just as much to both sides, because this one is truly of both sides in the most deep and profound way. Such a mediator really does meet our need. But let me come back to the risk element. When Simeon, old man Simeon, I love him, Luke tells us about him, when Simeon held the newborn Jesus in his arms, Simeon looked at Mary and said, "And a sword will pierce your soul." So he spoke many great and promising things about the baby and what this would mean. But because he recognized that he was holding the mediator, he knew, it seems to me, that grief was coming to the mother of the mediator, and so it would prove that would indeed be part of the story. I found in my ministry, and several people with experience of mediation have spoken to me about this too, that the mediator always takes a risk. Always. The risk is that somebody turns on you. The risk is actually that both sides turn on you. But there's a high risk that at least one side will. That at some point they don't trust you. That at some point they decide you're the problem. At some point it becomes easier to beat up on the mediator, the person who was working for reconciliation, than to take any other course of action. It's a risky business, is mediation. And Jesus could see long before his arrest that the cross was inevitable, that his role must end there because of something that goes on in human hearts. Jesus could see that human pride would lead to his rejection and eventual condemnation. And so he was indeed misunderstood by those he tried to explain it to, his closest friends, betrayed by one of them, deserted by all of them. The crowd that could have spoken up in his defense called out for his death. And the people of power decided to condemn him to be crucified. Why? Well, because the places of power is where human pride and human anxiety are particularly found in great strength. And so it was human pride, because you see, the trouble is, Jesus confronts us with the fact that we're lost. I hate to admit I'm lost. It reflects badly on my competence. I can have the roadmap or the sat-nav or the help of anybody or anything, but I hate being lost, and I will deny it until it's undeniable. I will always try and work it out myself because I feel so bad about failing. Well, I'm lost in life. I'm lost in terms of my purpose, in terms of what I'm here for and what I'm supposed to be. So I need a mediator, but I need one, and I'm likely to turn on the very mediator because of that pride in me and that unwillingness to admit a need. Jesus went to the cross and to his last breath continued to speak forgiveness and continued to promise hope. Then they laid him in the grave. And God did the only thing surely God could do at that point, which is to declare that the mediator is innocent, to reverse the condemnation of the human opinion and the human court, and to raise him to life. His work of mediation now complete, it wasn't simply a return to life as before. It was a moving on and a leaving behind of a season of life on earth, because the task was now finished. But it couldn't go left unsaid that Jesus lives. And Jesus, Paul tells us, passes on to us this business of reconciliation. Paul calls it the ministry of reconciliation, that we become people of the mediator when we allow our inner decision to agree with Jesus. We become, however shaky and however uncertain, we become walkers in the way of Jesus Christ in our own time. And that way is a way of mediation, of trying to communicate the love of God to the world and to become a bridge, a people, a church, a community who bridge between human lostness, human pride, human hurt, human uncertainty, human fear, human injustice, human getting it wrong, right, left and centre. Become a bridge with that humanity and with our Creator God. We begin to walk his way and to share this amazing message that we have a mediator. So this has been my second message in our Advent series, and next we'll be looking at Jesus not as the mediator, but as the shepherd and eventually as the Son of God. If there's a few things which I'll just follow up about mediator in the New Testament, and a couple of other thoughts in the supplement if you want to visit that. But otherwise, God bless you and give you a good and safe week ahead. Bye for now.